Hello and welcome to Flying High with Flutter. I'm your host, Alan Wyma, and today we have Andrew Cheung and Marco Au. Is that how you say your name?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, from Legalex. So these guys are working with Flutter in more of an enterprisey kind of format. I'm not going to say too much because I would rather have them kind of introduce themselves. So why don't you guys go ahead? Whoever wants to speak first, please go ahead.
Yeah. So Andrew and I were both from Legalex, and maybe to give more like a background information about what we do at Legalex, we're basically more like a productivity and office management platform that's catered for professional sectors like legal, accounting, finance firms. Yeah. So we mainly do document management and also project management, and we also introduce like a bunch of cool features that we are more used to in the tech industry, like Kanban, uh, like smart task management or like event management, and we kind of introduce these new concepts to like more traditional sectors. So to go along with our project management and document management, we also have a bunch of more supporting features like chat and video calls and like NLP search, kind of yeah, a bunch of like tools to support these main pillars of functions. So maybe Andrew can also like talk a little bit more about like himself or what we do with at the tech team.
Yeah, so like Marco said, we're basically a productivity tool for enterprise users, people who may not be as technologically involved from a day to day perspective, especially in Hong Kong and China. So we want to be involved with these people. We want to work with these people to help better their office or day to day office work and workflow. Um, for us, just to be specific, we use Flutter for our mobile apps, for our cross-platform mobile apps on iOS and Android. And we have a web app as well and a desktop app, but we use respectively React and Electron for the desktop app. And we can definitely talk about why we didn't use Flutter for especially the desktop app, and why we like what are the reasons that we went with that and why not.
Yeah, that's super interesting because at least for us, like as this in this podcast, is that we want to give like a true answer about what people actually feel about Flutter, right? It's not just blowing smoke up people's rear ends and saying Flutter's the best, right?
Sure.
Nothing could be like a silver bullet for everything. So with Flutter 2.0 coming out, obviously, you know, Flutter and the Google team and everybody else is kind of saying, okay, what's the point to use anything else? Like you can use one code base to kind of do everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think you guys are definitely one of the few people out there who are like not doing that. And as far as I know, you don't have interest to actually change anything you're doing. And it seems like you're really strongly opinionated about that. And so I'd love to hear more about, why don't you guys consider to even look at maybe using like the website, right? Because that's production ready as opposed to the desktop app.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
I could go in this a little bit more. So we really started building our first production ready web app in 2019, roughly in maybe first quarter, second quarter of 2019, and we built it with Next.js and React. And I think towards the end of the summer, that's when we were seriously considering, okay, in China, people use their mobile phones quite heavily. They rely on apps a lot, more than a web app, more than a browser and a desktop. So the question was posed: what technology do we use to build a mobile app, a cross-platform mobile app? Because we're a startup, and we couldn't really afford to have a dedicated team for iOS and for Android. So at that point, we evaluated uh, Flutter, we evaluated React Native primarily. We basically excluded React Native because uh, the the few of us that had used it felt that it had some problems, primarily that upgrading between versions at that time was quite painful. And even though we were a React Stack technology, like JS Stack team, we felt that it was probably best to use Flutter. And at that time, Flutter, we had some hesitations too. And I think we shared this with Marco when he joined as well. We were like, well, we went through this process of prototyping a React Native app and a Flutter app. But ultimately, why did we land on Flutter? Even though they had some risk at the time. In 2019, I mean, this is like close to 2 years ago, right? So Flutter back then wasn't as popular as it was now. I mean, it's only a year and a half, but still, things were not completely as popular as they were. So we felt that the trajectory, we felt that there was a trend that Flutter could be like a big player in the cross-platform mobile app scene, and I think we've been kind of on the money so far, especially in light of Flutter 2. So we said let's do it, and the biggest thing, which we can definitely talk about more later, is that we felt that with Flutter we had ready-made widgets that already looked presentable off the shelf.